The morning mist hung heavy over Windsor Castle as Sergeant Major William Huzzah adjusted his crimson uniform for what he believed would be another routine day. 23 years of service to the crown had taught him that even the most ordinary moments could shift into something extraordinary within these ancient walls. The Queen's passing 3 months earlier had left an unmistakable void that seemed to echo through every corridor. Every room where her presence had once brought warmth and purpose, William had been among Her Majesty's most trusted personal guards during her final years. His dedication went beyond duty. It was born from genuine affection for a monarch who had shown him kindness during his darkest personal moments. When his wife Sarah had battled cancer 5 years prior, the Queen had quietly arranged for the finest medical care and had personally inquired about Sarah's progress during their private conversations. Such gestures had forged an unbreakable bond between the guard and his sovereign. The Queen's beloved corgis had been a constant presence during William's service. Muick and Sandy were not just pets. They were her companions, her source of comfort during lonely evenings, when the weight of the crown felt particularly heavy. William had often observed the Queen's face light up when the dogs bounded into her study, their joyful energy cutting through the formality that surrounded her daily life. He had learned their individual personalities, their favorite treats, and the special way they would curl up beside the Queen's chair during her afternoon tea. Following the Queen's peaceful passing, the corgis had been taken into the care of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, as had been previously arranged. This decision had been made with careful consideration for the dogs' well-being, ensuring they would remain within the family circle, where they could receive proper attention and love. William had felt a deep satisfaction knowing that this final wish of his beloved Queen would be honored with the same respect she had shown to all living creatures throughout her reign. However, recent weeks had brought troubling whispers throughout the castle staff. Rumors suggested that the corgis had been quietly transferred to Queen Camilla's care, despite the original arrangements. These murmurs initially seemed like typical palace gossip, the kind of speculation that always swirled around royal households. William had dismissed them at first, trusting that such an important matter would never be handled carelessly or without proper consideration for all parties involved. The rumors persisted and grew more specific with each passing day. Kitchen staff mentioned seeing corgi toys and bedding being moved to different quarters. Groundskeepers spoke of walking routes being changed to accommodate the dogs' new living arrangements. Garden staff whispered about special dietary requirements being established in areas they had never needed to maintain before. Each detail added weight to what William had hoped were merely unfounded stories, circulating among worried employees. Sarah Ferguson had been notably absent from recent family gatherings, leading to further speculation about tension surrounding the corgi arrangement. Those close to the family suggested that she had been deeply hurt by what she perceived as a broken promise regarding the care of the Asteris, Queen's most treasured companions. The corgis represented more than pets to Sarah. They were living connections to the Queen's memory, tangible reminders of happier times when the royal family had felt more unified and purposeful. William's concern deepened when he learned from reliable sources within the household that Muick and Sandy had indeed been relocated without consulting the original caretakers. This revelation struck him as fundamentally wrong, not because of any personal animosity toward Queen Camilla, but because it seemed to disregard the careful planning the late Queen had put into place for her beloved companions. The Queen had been meticulous about such arrangements, always ensuring that every detail of her legacy would be handled with appropriate care and respect. The more William contemplated this situation, the more it troubled his sense of duty and honor. His loyalty to the crown extended beyond serving whoever currently held the title. It encompassed protecting the memory and wishes of the sovereign he had served so faithfully. The Queen's love for her corgis had been genuine and profound, and William felt that any deviation from her intended arrangements was a betrayal of that love and trust. His fellow guards noticed William's increasingly serious demeanor as the days passed. During their evening conversations in the guardhouse, he would sit quietly, lost in thought, while others discussed their daily duties and weekend plans. His usual good humor seemed subdued, replaced by a contemplative intensity that suggested he was wrestling with a significant decision. Those who knew him well recognized the signs of a man grappling with a matter of conscience. The breaking point came when William overheard a phone conversation between two senior household staff members, discussing the corgis' apparent distress in their new environment. The dogs, according to these sources, seemed confused and anxious, displaying behaviors that suggested they were struggling to adapt to their unexpected change in circumstances. This news hit William particularly hard, as he remembered how content and secure the corgis had always appeared in the MCE's presence, and how carefully she had planned for their continued happiness. That evening, William found himself standing in the garden where the Queen had so often walked with Muick and Sandy. The moonlight cast long shadows across the carefully maintained lawns, and he could almost see her familiar figure moving slowly along the paths with her faithful companions trotting beside her. The memory strengthened his resolve that something needed to be done to address what he saw as a serious departure from the Queen's carefully laid plans. William spent the remainder of that night researching proper protocols for addressing concerns within the royal household. His military training had instilled in him a deep respect for a chain of command, but it had also taught him that sometimes extraordinary circumstances required extraordinary measures. He understood that approaching Queen Camilla directly would be unprecedented and potentially career-ending, but his sense of duty to his late sovereigns memory outweighed his concerns for his own professional future. The next morning brought news that would provide William with an unexpected opportunity to act on his convictions. Word spread through the castle staff that Queen Camilla would be personally returning Muick and Sandy to Sarah Ferguson later that day. Apparently, in response to ongoing family discussions about the arrangement, this development suggested that the concerns William had been harboring were shared by others within the royal family, and that some form of resolution was already in motion, rather than feeling relief that the situation was being addressed. William felt an even stronger compulsion to speak directly with Queen Camilla about the matter. This would likely be his only chance to express his views about the importance of honoring the late Queen's wishes, and to ensure that such confusion about her legacy would not occur again in the future. The opportunity to advocate for his beloved sovereign one final time was something he could not let pass without action. William understood that his planned confrontation carried enormous risks. Guards were expected to remain silent on family matters, focusing solely on security duties while avoiding any involvement in personal or political issues. Speaking directly to Queen Camilla about such a sensitive matter could result in immediate dismissal, loss of pension benefits, and permanent exclusion from royal service. Yet his sense of duty to the Queen's memory felt more important than any personal consequences he might face as the afternoon approached. William prepared himself mentally for what he knew would be one of the most challenging conversations of his life. He would need to balance his deep respect for royal protocol with his passionate conviction that the Queen's final wishes deserved better protection. The weight of 23 years of loyal service gave him confidence that his motives would be understood, even if his methods were questioned by those who prioritized discretion above all other considerations. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the castle's west corridor as William positioned himself along Queen Camilla's expected route. His heart hammered against his ribcage with an intensity he had not experienced since his first day of royal service decades earlier. Every footstep echoing through the hallway seemed amplified, and he found himself questioning whether he possessed the courage to follow through with his unprecedented plan to address the Queen Consort directly about such a delicate family matter. Queen Camilla appeared precisely on schedule, her elegant figure moving with the practiced grace that had developed over years of royal duties. She carried herself with quiet dignity, though William's trained eye detected subtle signs of emotional weight in her posture. The past months had clearly taken their toll on her as she navigated the complexities of her new role while dealing with the profound grief that had enveloped the entire royal family. Following the Queen's passing, accompanying Queen Camilla were two of her personal staff members, along with a small entourage that included her private secretary and a security detail. Most notably, Muick and Sandy trotted beside her on matching royal blue leashes. their characteristic corgi energy somewhat subdued compared to the exuberant spirits. William remembered from their time with the late Queen, the sight of the beloved dogs stirred powerful emotions within him, reinforcing his conviction that this conversation was necessary regardless of potential consequences. As the group approached his position, William stepped forward with the precise military bearing that had defined his entire career. His movement was confident yet respectful, designed to gain attention without appearing threatening or overly aggressive. Queen Camilla's security detail immediately tensed, their hands instinctively moving toward their concealed weapons while their eyes scanned for potential threats. The private secretary moved protectively closer to Queen Camilla, clearly prepared to intervene if the situation required immediate action.
Your Majesty,
William announced in his clear, an authoritative voice, executing a perfect formal bow that demonstrated his deep respect despite the unusual circumstances. Sergeant Major William Hayes, personal guard to Her late Majesty, I humbly request a moment of your time regarding a matter of great importance to the Crown and to the memory of our beloved Queen. Queen Camilla paused mid-step, her blue eyes reflecting surprise mixed with curiosity rather than annoyance or fear. Her extensive experience in royal circles had taught her to handle unexpected situations with grace and composure, even when they occurred outside normal protocols. She studied William's face carefully, perhaps recognizing him from the many years he had served alongside her late mother-in-law, or simply sensing the genuine sincerity behind his respectful but determined approach. Sergeant Major Hayes, she replied with measured politeness, her voice carrying the refined accent that had become familiar to the British public over the years. I remember you from many occasions during Her late Majesty's final years. Your dedication to her service was exemplary and deeply appreciated by the entire family. What matter brings you to speak with me today? The private secretary stepped forward slightly, clearly uncomfortable with this breach of normal protocol, and prepared to suggest that any concerns should be addressed through proper channels. However, Queen Camilla raised her hand gently, indicating that she wished to hear what William had to say. This gesture demonstrated the kind of gracious leadership that it had gradually won her acceptance among both the royal household staff and the broader British public who had initially viewed her with skepticism and reservation. William took a deep breath, drawing upon decades of military training to maintain his composure, while addressing what could potentially be perceived as criticism of Queen Camilla's handling of family affairs. Your Majesty, I served Her late Majesty for 23 years, and during that time, witnessed firsthand her extraordinary love for Myowick and Sandy. These wonderful creatures were not merely pets to her. They were trusted companions who provided comfort during her most difficult moments and joy during her happiest times. Queen Camilla's expression softened perceptibly as William spoke, and she glanced down at the two corgis who had settled calmly at her feet. The dogs seemed to sense the emotional weight of the conversation, their usual playful energy replaced by an almost reverent stillness that suggested they, too, understood they were at the center of something significant and deeply personal to the humans surrounding them. I understand that arrangements were made for their care following Her Majesty's passing. William continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke from his heart, rather than from any script or protocol. Prince Andrew and the Duchess of York were to provide them with loving homes where they could continue to receive the care and attention that Her Majesty had always ensured they received. I believe these arrangements were made with great thought and consideration for the well-being of these precious animals. The tension in the corridor was palpable as William's words hung in the air. Queen Camilla's security detail remained alert but showed no signs of moving to interrupt the conversation, apparently taking their cues from their principal's calm demeanor. The private secretary looked increasingly anxious, clearly anticipating potential complications from this highly irregular exchange between a guard and a member of the royal family about sensitive personal matters. Queen Camilla listened intently to William's words, her face reflecting deep thought rather than defensiveness or anger. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a note of sadness that suggested she had been struggling with this very issue herself. Sergeant Major Hayes, you speak truly about Her late Majesty's love for these dear animals. I have been caring for them these past weeks, not out of any desire to disrupt existing arrangements, But because circumstances arose that made their temporary care necessary, William felt a flicker of uncertainty about his assumptions, but pressed forward with the respectful determination that had brought him to this moment. Your Majesty, I mean no disrespect to your care for them, which I am certain has been excellent. However, I witnessed Her Majesty's careful planning for their future, and I believe she would have wanted her original arrangements to be honored unless truly extraordinary circumstances made that impossible. Queen Camilla nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting the complexity of emotions she had been managing since taking on her new role. You are quite right to advocate for her wishes, Sergeant Major. Your loyalty to Her late Majesty's memory is admirable, and exactly what she would have expected from someone she trusted so completely. I want you to know that I am returning Muick and Sandy to the Duchess of York today, not because of any failure on my part to care for them properly, but because I believe it is indeed what she would have wanted. The revelation that Queen Camilla was already planning to return the corgis caught William somewhat off guard, but it also filled him with profound relief and respect for her wisdom in handling this delicate situation. Her willingness to listen to his concerns without taking offense demonstrated the kind of gracious leadership that honored both her position and the memory of her predecessor. The moment felt like a bridge between the old reign and the new one, built on mutual respect and shared devotion to doing what was right. I must admit, Queen Camilla continued with a slight smile that transformed her entire demeanor, that caring for these energetic companions has given me an even deeper appreciation for Her late Majesty's patience and dedication. They are wonderful animals, but they require the kind of attention and consistency that she provided so naturally. The Duchess of York has that same natural affinity with them, and they will be happiest in her care. William felt tears forming in his eyes as he realized that his fears had been unfounded, and that Queen Camilla's intentions had always been honorable. Your Majesty, I apologize if my approach was inappropriate or if I seemed to question your judgment. My only desire was to ensure that Her late Majesty's wishes were respected, and I am deeply grateful that you understand my concerns. Queen Camilla's response surprised everyone present, including her own staff members who had never witnessed such an informal exchange between their principal and a member of the household guard, Sergeant Major Hayes. Your devotion to Her late Majesty's memory is exactly what she would have wanted from those she trusted most. Never apologize for advocating for what you believe is right, especially when it comes from such genuine love and respect. The emotional weight of the moment seemed to affect everyone in the corridor as the reality of the Queen's absence hit home once again. Muick and Sandy remained calmly at Queen Camilla's feet, almost as if they understood that their future was being decided with the same care and consideration their beloved mistress would have shown. The sight of the dogs in this moment of transition seemed to embody the continuity and change that defined the monarchy itself. Queen Camilla knelt down to gently stroke both dogs, her actions reflecting the genuine affection she had developed for them during their time in her care. They are remarkable animals, she said softly, and they deserve to be where they can be happiest and most loved. The Duchess of York will provide them with exactly the kind of environment Her late Majesty envisioned for them. As Queen Camilla stood to continue her journey to return the corgis, she paused to look directly at William with an expression of sincere gratitude. Thank you for your service to Her late Majesty, and thank you for your courage in speaking with me today. Your dedication to her memory and to doing what is right reflects the very best traditions of royal service. The journey to Sarah Ferguson's residence unfolded with an atmosphere of quiet reflection that seemed to envelop everyone involved in this significant moment. William had been granted permission to accompany Queen Camilla on this meaningful trip, an unprecedented gesture that demonstrated her genuine appreciation for his devotion to the late Queen's memory. As their convoy moved through the countryside, he found himself sitting near the two corgis, who seemed to sense that something important was happening in their lives once again. Muick and Sandy displayed remarkably calm behavior during the journey, almost as if they understood the significance of this transition. William observed their demeanor carefully, noting how they occasionally looked toward Queen Camilla with what appeared to be gratitude rather than anxiety. This observation reinforced his growing appreciation for the care and attention she had provided during their temporary stay under her guardianship, even though circumstances had made that arrangement less than ideal for all parties involved. The conversation during the drive revealed layers of complexity that William had not previously understood about the Corgi situation. Queen Camilla explained that the temporary change in arrangements had occurred due to unexpected travel commitments that had made it difficult for Sarah Ferguson to provide the consistent care the dogs required, rather than allowing them to be placed with unfamiliar caretakers. Queen Camilla had stepped in to ensure their continuity of care during a particularly challenging period for everyone involved. Duchess of York was devastated when her circumstances made it temporarily impossible for her to care for them properly. Queen Camilla shared, her voice carrying genuine empathy for Sarah's difficult position. She loves these animals deeply, and the thought of not being able to honor her late Majesty's trust was causing her considerable distress. I offered to help during this transitional period with the understanding that they would return to her care as soon as she was able to provide the stability they needed. This revelation completely transformed William's understanding of the situation and filled him with admiration for Queen Camilla's thoughtful approach to what could have been a difficult family conflict. Her willingness to temporarily sacrifice her own comfort and convenience to ensure the Corgi's well-being demonstrated the kind of selfless service that had characterized the best traditions of the royal family throughout generations of dedicated public service. As they approached Sarah Ferguson's home, William could see her waiting anxiously in the garden, her face displaying a mixture of joy and nervous anticipation that spoke volumes about her emotional investment in this reunion. The sight of her standing among the carefully tended flowers and trees created a scene that seemed perfectly suited for the return of the Queen's beloved companions to the environment where they could truly flourish and be appreciated. The moment Muick and Sandy spotted Sarah through the car windows, their entire demeanor changed dramatically. Their tails began wagging with the enthusiastic energy William remembered from their happiest days with the Queen, and they pressed against the windows with excitement that left no doubt about their recognition and affection for their returning caretaker. The genuine joy displayed by both dogs provided powerful confirmation that this reunion was exactly what the late Queen would have wanted for her cherished companions. Sarah's emotional reaction to seeing the Corgis again was deeply moving for everyone present. Tears streamed down her face as she hurried toward the car, her arms extended in welcome for the two animals, which represented such an important connection to her former mother-in-law's memory. The bond between Sarah and the Corgis had clearly remained strong despite their temporary separation, and their reunion carried profound significance for everyone who understood the role these animals had played in the Queen's daily life. Queen Camilla handled the transfer with remarkable grace and sensitivity, ensuring that both Sarah and the dogs felt completely comfortable with the transition. She had prepared detailed notes about the care routines she had established, the dogs' current health status, their favorite activities, and any behavioral changes she had observed during their time with her. This level of thoughtful preparation demonstrated her genuine commitment to ensuring the smoothest possible transition for all involved parties. "They are wonderful companions," Queen Camilla told Sarah with sincere warmth, "and they clearly remember you with great affection. Her late Majesty chose wisely when she entrusted their care to you, and I know they will be completely happy here, where they can receive the love and attention they deserve in a stable, familiar environment." Sarah's gratitude was evident as she embraced Queen Camilla, their previous tensions dissolved by the understanding that both women had acted out of genuine love for the animals and respect for the Queen's memory. "Thank you so much for caring for them when I couldn't," Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Knowing they were safe and loved during that difficult time means more to me than I can express." William watched this exchange with profound satisfaction, feeling that his intervention had contributed to a resolution that honored everyone involved while ensuring the best possible outcome for Muick and Sandy. The sight of the two women embracing while the Corgis explored their returned environment created a powerful image of reconciliation and shared purpose that seemed to embody the very best aspects of family, loyalty, and mutual support. As the afternoon progressed, William observed the dogs settling back into Sarah's home with remarkable ease. They immediately began investigating familiar scents and locations, their behavior suggesting they remembered this environment with positive associations. Their comfort level provided additional confirmation that Queen Camilla's decision to return them had been absolutely correct and perfectly timed for their emotional well-being. Conversation between Queen Camilla and Sarah gradually evolved beyond the immediate concerns about the corgis to broader discussions about maintaining the Queen's legacy and supporting each other through the ongoing process of adjustment to life without her guiding presence. Both women shared memories of the Queen's interactions with Muick and Sandy, creating an atmosphere of shared reminiscence that seemed to strengthen their relationship while honoring their mutual loss. William found himself included in these conversations in ways that would have been unimaginable under normal circumstances. His years of close observation of the Queen's daily routines with her beloved pets provided valuable insights that both women appreciated, and his perspective, as someone who had witnessed her genuine affection for the animals, added depth to their understanding of how much this reunion would have meant to her. As evening approached, it became clear that Muick and Sandy had completely readjusted to their environment and were displaying all the signs of contentment and security that had characterized their best days. With the Queen, they moved freely throughout the house and garden, investigating familiar toys and resting places while maintaining the relaxed demeanor that indicated they felt truly at home once again. Queen Camilla's final interactions with the corgis were particularly touching, as she knelt to offer them gentle farewells that clearly reflected the genuine affection she had developed during their time together. Her willingness to let them go, despite the obvious bond that had formed, demonstrated the kind of selfless love that the Queen herself had always shown when making decisions about the welfare of those dependent upon her care. The drive back to the castle provided William with an opportunity to reflect on the extraordinary events of the day and to express his gratitude to Queen Camilla for her gracious handling of his unprecedented approach, her willingness to listen to his concerns, to explain the true circumstances behind the temporary arrangement, and to include him in the resolution process had exceeded his highest expectations for how such a delicate situation might be managed. Your Majesty, William said with deep sincerity as they neared the castle, today has shown me that Her late Majesty's legacy of compassionate leadership continues in your hands. The way you handled this situation demonstrates the same kind of thoughtful consideration for all involved parties that she would have shown, and I am honored to have witnessed such graceful resolution of what could have been a difficult family conflict. Queen Camilla's response reflected the wisdom she had gained through years of navigating complex family dynamics while maintaining her commitment to doing what was right, regardless of personal cost. Sergeant Major Hayes today reminded me that the best decisions are often the ones that put the well-being of others ahead of our own preferences. Her late Majesty understood this principle better than anyone, and I hope I can continue to honor her example in all my future decisions. The conversation concluded with both individuals feeling that they had participated in something significant that transcended the immediate concerns about two beloved pets. They had worked together to ensure that the Queen's final wishes were respected, that family relationships were strengthened rather than damaged, and that Muick and Sandy could continue their lives in the environment best suited to their happiness and well-being. As William resumed his regular duties in the days that followed, he carried with him a renewed sense of purpose and pride. In his service to the Crown, the events surrounding the corgis had demonstrated that the traditions of loyal service, respectful advocacy, and compassionate leadership that had defined the Queen's reign would continue under Queen Camilla's guidance. His willingness to speak up for what he believed was right had been validated and appreciated rather than punished, confirming that the values he had served throughout his career remained as important as ever. The story of Muick and Sandy's return became a quiet symbol within the royal household of the continuity that connected the old reign with the new one. built on shared respect for the Queen's memory and commitment to honoring her wishes even in the smallest details of daily life. William's role in ensuring this positive outcome became part of his own legacy as a guard who served not just the person of the sovereign, but the principles and values that the crown represented at its finest.